Do you have a 55-gallon tank that you're trying to figure out what you should put into it? Well, if so, then this video is for you. Hi there, I'm Hillary for Waterlogged on behalf of saltwateraquarium.com. In this video, I'm going to give you a good number of different fish that you could put in a 55-gallon tank. Now this isn't an all-inclusive list, but most of the fish on this list I've selected because of their size and the space requirements that they have from juvenile fish all the way through to adulthood. So let's go ahead and get started. The first fish on my list today is angelfish, but not just any angelfish, I'm talking about those dwarf angels. They stay very small in size. You can find them just about anywhere you might be shopping for them, and they're really colorful little fish that add just so much personality to your tank. Now, if color is what you're looking for when it comes to fish for a 55-gallon, well, maybe you should also be considering basslets. Think along the lines of a chalk basslet and the very popular royal grama. Blennies are another fish that are a fun option for a 55. While they're not quite as colorful as the first two groups of fish on my list, they do have a ton of personality, and that's really what I love about them. You can see those little blennies popping their heads up out of the rocks, and they're just really quite fun to have in your tank. Okay, let's move on. Maybe you want a group of fish. Well, think no further than clownfish. Now, with clownfish, you could have an individual clown, you could have a pair of clowns, or you could get a tank with some anemones and have a whole harem of clownfish. I gotta say, I've never seen one of those tanks in person, but I imagine they would be pretty cool and a lot of fun to watch. If clownfish aren't quite your thing, then maybe chromis are. Typically, they are a light blue-green in color, and they will school together if you get a bunch of them. They're pretty affordable, and they will add a lot of movement to your tank. Another option when it comes to schooling fish are cardinal fish. They're another type that are typically found as aquacultured fish, so that's an added bonus, but they're very peaceful fish. So think like the Bengai cardinals and the Pachama cardinals. Those would be great options for peaceful community tanks that are your 55-gallon. Okay, let's move on to damsels. Damsels typically are darker blue, at least the ones that I usually see in the stores, are blue, yellow, sometimes you can find them black with stripes. I will say these guys, while they're affordable, once you put them in the tank, they can be a little bit aggressive. In fact, I've got one in the tank behind me that has actually gone and nipped after some of my largest fish, so I would recommend you to add those with caution if that is in fact your choice. Now, dartfish are another type of fish that could go well in a 55-gallon. An example of this would be firefish. They're really cool. They have slender bodies and bright pops of color across their bodies, but like their name suggests, they do tend to dart around, which makes it imperative for you to have a lid on top of your tank. That same goes for any fish that's on this list. You don't want to accidentally lose a fish that you have come to be attached to. Now, another fish that you could add in a 55-gallon, though not at the very beginning, would be a mandarin dragonet. These are a beautiful fish, just a kaleidoscope of colors, and they're a lot of fun to watch eat. They'll cruise around your reef picking copepods out of your rockwork. They're a lot of fun, but again, not a fish to add in the very beginning. Another fish that would be a very helpful fish in your tank would be filefish, specifically the aptasia-eating filefish. If you have any of those pesky aptasia, one of those would be a great option. Now, if you like filefish but don't necessarily need an aptasia eater, think about the pygmy white-spotted filefish. They're super small, but they have a ton of personality despite their size. Gobies are a great fish for a 55-gallon. A lot of these guys are sand sifters. You can find them in a whole bunch of different colors, and an added bonus, a lot of them will form symbiotic relationships with pistol shrimp, and so that's a pretty special thing to watch develop and take place in your tank. Moving on are hawkfish. Now, hawkfish as a group, there's several different ones, but they tend to be red in color. I really like them. I think they're kind of funny and really will just sit and hang out, stare at everything going on your reef, maybe quietly judge you waiting for some food. Only thing about these guys is sometimes they do eat ornamental shrimp, so you have to be careful when you're putting them in your tank. But they would be a good option for a 55-gallon. Now, you know I love puffers, so I can't have a list without puffers on it. While I wish I could include some of the larger species of puffer, like the porcupine puffer and the dogface, I really feel like a 55-gallon just doesn't have enough space for them once they're adults. But I can recommend some of the smaller species of puffer, like those Toby puffers and the Valentini puffer. They would make great options, and even though they're small, you're going to get just as big of a personality with them as you would get with some of the larger species of puffers. Man, we are moving through this list real fast. Second to last group of fish on my list is a tang. I know a lot of people, when they get a saltwater tank, they automatically want to have a tang, but a large majority of the tangs that you see tend to get pretty big. Not only do they need a lot of space just because of their physical size, but also the space requirements for them swimming around and hiding places. It's just really not suited for a 55-gallon. That said, if you have your heart set on a tang, look at some of the smaller species like that Tolmini/Bristletooth tang. They would be a great option for a 55, and they'll help to keep your rockwork clean and free of those algae as they grow. All right, the last group of fish that I have on my list is quite the colorful group of fish, and that is wrasses. When it comes to wrasses, there's probably a wrasse in every color of the rainbow and even the colors in between. They really are a bright group of fish. They're active, they swim about. You'll find some of them even that will bury themselves in the sand at night, so it's pretty fun to watch. Now these guys can be a little bit jumpy, so again, make sure you have a lid that's secure on the top of your tank. Now, if you're not sure where to start when it comes to wrasses, look for ones like the flasher wrasse and the fairy wrasse. They would be great to have. Or if you need help with pest control, maybe think wrasses like the 6-line wrasse and the yellow chorus wrasse. Those can be helpful in addition to adding color to your tank. Now, while that does conclude my list, I'm going to leave you with one last thing. Before you add anything to your tank, please do your research before you buy. While I've mentioned all of these fish would do well in a 55-gallon, they might not be compatible with fish that you already have or others on this list. For example, the hawkfish, they do eat some ornamental shrimp, so you don't want to add those to a tank where you have little sexy shrimp or cleaner shrimp. That's just not going to be a good fit. So do your research before you buy, and I hope this has given you a bunch of different ideas for fish that you could put in a 55-gallon. All right, this has been Hillary for Waterlogged on behalf of saltwateraquarium.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.